Hey everyone, Jay Cottrell here with LPT Realty once again in the Tri-Cities area. Today, let's talk about it's the economy, stupid. What do I mean by that? Well, let's look at mortgage rates because um, while the economy seems to be cooling off, that tends to mean mortgage rates are cooling off too. So what's that going, what does all that mean for our local housing market? Well, let's take a quick look. So first, let's take a look at this is what analysis that was done that kind of tried to compare home buyer demand with current mortgage rates. And and by this analysis, we've been in that limited or weak territory for most of this year. But if rates get down below 6.5%, that starts increasing buyer demand. And if they get below 6%, you can see that really pumps up buyer demand. So where are rates currently? Well, this is the news that I got this morning. They're at 6.34%. That's a pretty big drop over the last few weeks. And you can see that's putting us in, that's going to be moving us into a lot more buyer demand locally, which is going to put pressure back on our inventory levels. Because though our inventory levels are up, which I'll show you here in a second, they're nowhere near that balanced market level. So as buyer demand increases, I suspect our inventory levels to flatten out or maybe even start decreasing again. So let's take a look at some of the stats. So first, let's take a look at those inventory levels. So you can see over the last several months, our inventory levels have been ramping up quite a bit. But again, they're approaching about 1,800, whereas a balanced market in our area would be closer to almost 4,000 homes. So we've made big improvements, which has slowed down price appreciation, which I'll show you that graph next. And if you remember the beginning of the year, a lot of experts, and I kind of agree with them, predicted that if things were going the way everybody suspected, we would see about single digit price gains over this year instead of the double digit or crazy amount of price gains that we've seen. And that seems to be what's happened. So in this low inventory market, it's hard for really prices to fall, but they have been stabilizing. So we've been seeing more around the 3 to 5 to 6% home price appreciation this year, which is way different than the 15, 16, 20% or more that we saw during all of the craziness. So let's take a quick look at price. You can see that list prices have been just slowly moving up this year. So those have flattened out, but not completely flattened out. So we are seeing that movement. And if we look at home sales prices, you can see that those have had a very slow increase this year as well. So they have been incrementally increasing, but no major increases. You see some big blips here and there on the graph for average prices, just because we simply have a really large priced home or a few large priced homes sell, which kicks that up. But you can see the overall trend is a gradual but steady increase, not large peaks and valleys like we were used to a few years. The other topic is pending listings. So we can see that in the over the last few weeks, buyer activity has sort of slowed down quite a bit, and you'll see that in the July numbers too. That it has slowed down. It's still slightly up from last year as far as the amount of pending contracts, but it's definitely a little bit slower from where we were, as you can see in the previous weeks here. Closings in the month of July were up, but that's because, again, that's a trailing indicator because closings are homes that went under contract 1 to 2 months ago. So those sales are finally starting to closing now, which is starting to push those closing numbers up. But so our market has kind of been softening here towards the end of summer. However, with these lower rates that are here and possibly coming, especially if the Fed start to say that inflation is under control and maybe that our market in general, as far as not the housing market, but the financial markets and our economy is cooling off. That's good news for mortgage borrowers because that means that mortgage rates are going to be cooling off. However, the more buyers that puts back on the market, the more pressure it's going to put on our inventory, which is still low and has not fully recovered. So I hope all of that makes sense and that can kind of give you an idea of where we're looking at for the rest of the year. Honestly, I think at this time it's kind of a wait and see. I'll get into it more when I do a video about the July numbers, but I just wanted to give you a quick update on where we are sitting right now and what that could possibly mean for us. I hope you found that information interesting. Again, if you do you like these videos and find them interesting, please share them with friends and family so they can have the most up-to-date information on our local real estate market here in Northeast Tennessee and Southwest Virginia. And I am Jay Cottrell with LPT Realty. That's it for this week. We'll see you next week.